So, in this passage from Luke chapter 9, the end of chapter 9 actually, Jesus and his disciples are on a road trip, basically. They're traveling the country, he's preaching, they're meeting people, they're sharing the gospel, much as Gospel tries to do. But in this last piece of the chapter 9, there are three encounters mentioned, three meetings that he has with three different men. Firstly, you have someone who comes up to Jesus and promises that I will follow you. And Jesus kind of answers in a strange way. He tells him that even the animals of the world has a place to rest. The Son of God, Jesus, doesn't have anywhere when he can rest, anywhere to rest his head. Which is a bit of a strange thing to say when somebody comes up to you and promises to follow you. Secondly, there's a man that Jesus asks to come and follow him. And this man agrees he will do that, but says he has to go and bury his father first. And Jesus tells him, well, let the dead bury the dead. Which seems kind of harsh. I mean, the man's just lost his father. So it's a bit of a strange thing to say. Thirdly, comes another man that promises to follow Jesus. But he wants to go and say goodbye to his family first, which is, understandable. And Jesus tells him that whoever looks back when he started following God has really no place in the kingdom of God. I mean, again, that's quite a harsh statement, isn't it? I mean, the guy only wants to go and say goodbye to his family. So there's three quite strange encounters and sayings. But you have to remember, this is about following Jesus, of following Christ, of being a follower of God. The fact that Jesus has no place to rest his head in this world tells me that following God, following Jesus, is no walk in the park. It will be hard. It will be rough. We will not find no rest in that. It will be hard work, basically. We will not get our reward in this life, necessarily. It's just basically not a guarantee for an easy life. It is a battle. Jesus and God, we will provide the strength. He's promised us that. But being a Christian and being a follower of God is not about being comfortable. It's about living for God, loving our brother and sister to the best of our ability. And that is often quite hard work. Then there's this notion about letting the dead bury the dead, which is kind of rude, seems to me at least. But I think the point here is being that the concerns of the world really shouldn't be our concerns. Our hope lies in the promise that we will meet again. This is not the end. This is not the main happening, the main course of things. When we leave this life, it's only our body that we leave here. What we essentially are, our soul, moves on. And let's just focus on the people we have around us. And that's about things that happened. Of course, there's something to say about experience and learning from history. But still, that's not where our focus should be. It should be on here and now, on the people we have around us. The last guy wants to go to say goodbye to his family. It seems kind of reasonable again. I mean, you go on the road, you say goodbye to your family, and I don't think that's really it. it's not about being rude to your family and the people who love you, but it's basically about looking back at what we've been, what we once had. Once we make the commitment of following Christ, about following God, it makes an impact on our lives. There are things we should leave behind. We shouldn't look back longingly for what the world was. We should strive for love, for peace, for justice, not for money, not glory, not fame, which are all things that the world wants us to run after. There's always the risk that we come to Christ and He gives us the peace, but then we kind of stay in our old ways of being hard when in relation to other people, to other persons, to how we relate to the world. So there's a learning curve here. I think that you do not, God can change us, and Jesus changes us for sure, but there's a learning curve here. It doesn't always happen all at once, because we tend to learn better if we take some effort to do the learning. Then it sticks in another way. So let's try to identify the ways of the world in your own life. What are the things that you're struggling with letting go of? Is it, simple things as, defending our good name and fortune, working to be prosperous in the eyes of the world, looking for fame, looking for people to look up to us? That's not the things we should go for. That's not the things we should work towards. But letting go and identifying these things, that can be very challenging to me as well. Especially to me. I'm definitely no better than anyone else in this account. But sometimes it may be quite hard, but very good to take a long, hard look at where does my priorities lie? What do I actually prioritize? Sometimes God uses our friends, our family, and guys, our wives, to tell us when we've lost the plots. It might be worth listening to them. Perhaps it's God knocking on us a bit. So, it's not easy being a follower of Christ, but that is what Jesus calls us to do, to follow Him and follow His example. So, sisters and brothers, eyes on Him. God bless.